Okay, hi guys. It's Jacqueline Francis here. Oh gosh, I feel as if I haven't done a Facebook Live in ages. How are you? So today, welcome to my show, which is called Stop Sweeping It Under the Carpet with Jacqueline Francis. Let me just put the volume up. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, so um, hi, guys. Thank you very much for joining me. Thank you. So, today my show is called Stop Sweeping It Under the Carpet. I have a guest with me today, and her name is Nabilah Witter. I hope I've pronounced that correctly. So, I'm going to bring her in. So, I'm just going to approve you and add you to. So, how have you guys been? I feel like it's been ages. So, while I wait for my guests to accept my invitation, yeah, my show is called Stop Sweeping It Under the Carpet, and I'm quite happy about this because a lot of us go through so many things emotionally. Oops, there we go. There we go. Hi, can you see me okay?
Hello.
Hi.
Oh dear.
How are you? You're
Can't hear you now.
sorry? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can see you, but it's cutting in and out.
Okay, but can you hear me now?
I can see you. I can see you.
But can you hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. I'm fine. Oh wow. Okay, so we seem to have lost each other there. I'm just gonna try her again. Hi. Thanks so much for joining me, Ren. Yeah, my the topic of my show is called "Stop Sweeping It Under the Carpet" because so many of us are going through issues, emotional issues, um, that, and we don't know how to deal with it. We're just the carpet and not dealing with it. So I've got my guest on today, and we're going to be talking about issues with regards to our siblings. Um, oh,
Yes, I'm back up now. I'm hoping that it doesn't cut out again.
right. Okay. So you can hear me okay?
Hi, I'm
Can you
hoping
hear
that it
me?
doesn't cut out again.
Right. Okay. So, but can you hear me? Because I
Yes,
can
I can
hear
hear
you,
you
but can you
fine.
hear
Yeah.
me? Right. Great. Fantastic. Okay. So let's move
Yes,
forward
I
then.
can hear
So
you
today's
perfectly well. Can you hear me? Yes. Yes, I can.
okay. I think there might be a bit of a time delay.
Okay.
I think. So yes, the topic today is about siblings. Um, so I've written my chapter in the book called Blind Spot Anthology,
Okay.
which is yeah, which is this one here, and it's been forward the compiled by Sonia, and you had an interview with Sonia the other day, Sonia Polian. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, can you hear me? Right, okay. So my chapter in that book was about siblings and rivalry because I've been ostracized and rejected by my siblings. And I understand that, I mean, for me, it was quite heartbreaking. So I just wanted to know, who else out there are having issues or had issues with their siblings, and introduce yourself. We've lost her. We've lost her. I was just saying, I hope that I can get her back. I was just saying that blind spot anthology is called Green Eyes, and it talks about issues with sibling jealousy and rivalry. And it's transpired that Nabila had issues as well with her siblings. But how do we deal with things like that? How do we? Because you can't cut them off. Okay, we've got you back. Can you hear me?
Oops. Yeah, it got me back. For some reason, it just keeps cutting out. It looks as though the reception is really bad here. Yeah.
Right, okay. So, okay, well, just quickly introduce yourself then.
Okay, so my name is Nebula. I'm a mother of four, and I'm being interviewed on, like, what's going on between me and my siblings. So I would just like to share.
Right, okay. So my story is with my two sisters, and I'm the middle one. So I've been
Yeah.
rejected from them. Um, but I can't
Hmm.
pinpoint a moment where it all happened, um, because everyone else was telling me that there are issues, but I was in denial, until one day I found out, well, actually they do have issues with me, which went back
Yeah.
20 plus years. Of course, I didn't know about that. So I've now dealt with it and I've moved on. But you are in a similar situation with your siblings. So could you just share a little bit about the dynamics of, your siblings with you?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, no problem. Well, I'm the youngest, so my siblings are 18 and 21 years older than me. So, as you can imagine, we haven't really had that sort of a bond because of the age gap, because,
Oh, you're frozen. Oh, wow. We seem to have lost her again. Technology is not on our side. And see, maybe she can move to a different part of the house or something to get a better reception. So, yeah, I mean, there's nothing that we can do. We have our siblings, we live with our siblings, some of us anyway, and, they're our blood relatives. So, what do you do if you find out, or, there's some sort of sibling rivalry or some sort of sibling jealousy, which is not often talked about, but many of us are actually going through issues like this. And I remember, people kept on saying to me, well, your sisters, why don't you just talk to each other? This is ridiculous. But what do you do if they don't want to talk to you? You can't force them to do it. What do you do if you can't understand the reason why they haven't accepted you, or you can't understand the reason why that they have rejected you? Because for me, I've never had an issue with them. But for some reason, clearly they've had an issue with me. And I never really got down to why that was. Much. I never really got to understand why that was. Why are siblings? Okay, okay, she's just said it's cut out. Maybe you can go to another part of the house or something like that. I'll try her again and see what happens. What is the problem? Why do our siblings fall out with us? Why are they jealous of us? Okay, welcome back.
all right, let's hope it doesn't cut out.
Can you go to
Oh
another
dear.
part of can you go to another part of the house or something? Or is that
It's like
just
this in every part, but what I've done is I've tried to put on my mobile data instead of the Wi-Fi for the house. So I'm hoping that that will make a difference. So let's hope
right?
so.
Okay, well, you explain your story. You started off by saying that they're 18 and 21 years older than you, which is a huge gap.
Yeah, yeah, there's a huge gap between us. So I've never really had that gelling with them. And then another instance is that we have different fathers. They're from the same father. I'm from a different father to them. So obviously, so that's another issue to it also. But growing up, I can remember when I was little, they were there for me, sort of, would play with me and take me out and things like that. But as time went on and as I got older, it started to just drift away. You
Mm,
know, they used to say that I was crazy because they didn't understand me because I'm from a different generation to them.
yeah, yeah. Because it is a huge gap, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a huge gap. So they didn't understand where I was coming from, and I just didn't experience that love because my mother always shows that she was closer to them in
Mm,
that way. So it was like they were a part of a clique and I was the outside one. So I
mm,
didn't know, where do I fit in within the family? What is my place? So
mm.
that was quite hurtful.
So did you try, I mean, did you recognize the point where you felt that, something's not right here? What age were you? Did you sort of recognize that, you didn't seem to be gelling?
I would say from early on, from maybe about the age of 10, I just knew that
Okay.
something just was not right. It was like, don't care how much I try. If they were in a room and they're having a conversation, it was like, can you get out, please?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh. So were they saying that because, you were just too young to understand to get into big
Maybe because
people?
I was just too young to understand. But even so, as I got older, that still carried on. Like if they were having a conversation, I just had to remove myself. It was like that everybody would stop talking as I entered the room.
Right. So did they still see you as just the baby, really, don't they?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So, how did that make you feel emotionally? Because I know from my experience, my issues didn't happen when I was younger. It happened when I
Mhm.
was an adult. So, as far as I'm concerned, I had a brilliant childhood with my siblings,
Yeah.
but I do
Yeah.
recall not doing much with them because when I asked friends who I grew up with, they said to me, well, I was very much a person that if I wanted something, I'd just go off and do it, do you know what I mean,
Yeah.
without asking anyone's
Yeah.
permission. So
Yeah.
my issues didn't start until I was an adult. And that surprised me because,
Hmm.
because it just, to me, it didn't make any sense. So, but it was quite a lot of the time, for years, I was in denial. And I thought that when I told them my good news, I thought their level of unhappiness or happiness for me was different. Because if someone said to me, oh, told me some good news, I'd be ecstatic as if it happened to me.
Yeah.
But when
Yeah.
I told
Yeah.
them my good news, it was like, it wasn't very exciting,
Yeah.
really. So
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe those are some of the signs, but emotionally, it really did affect me emotionally because we have the same father, we have the same parents.
Yeah.
Um, Whereas you were saying that you have different parents, we have the same parents. We grew up in the same
Yeah.
household. We had the same type of opportunities. So I
Hmm.
couldn't understand, why this was happening.
Hmm.
So how did it make you feel emotionally?
Yeah, it made me feel left out, and I felt like a bit of a loner. And even
Mm,
I would say, even with friends, I found it hard to communicate with friends because at home I never really had that much of that communication at home. So yeah,
mm,
it made me really sad because especially my mother would show and she
yeah.
would let it be known that my eldest brother was her favorite. She would
Mm,
show it. It's not like she hid it. It was
right.
out there and everybody knows that he was the star for her,
Right. Did anyone else notice that she favored the older brother than
Yeah,
your?
everybody could see, even her friends knew that she
Right.
favored him more,
And what was
you
her
know.
response to that? What was her response to when they said that to her?
She would deny it. She would say, no, 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 she loves everybody equally, but everybody knew. Because even I used to say to her that you love him more than you love me. But for her, she would like, no, 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 I love all of you equally. I'm not saying
Right.
that I had like this really bad childhood. Yeah,
Mm.
because if I did say that, I'd be very, very, very ungrateful. But it's
Yeah.
just in that respect of that love. That was
Mm,
what was missing for me. That
mm.
love.
Yeah.
Like even though this is a little bit off the topic of siblings, but my mother wasn't really the one that you could go over to and say, Mum, can I have a hug? Can I have a kiss now?
Right. Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that generation, I don't think that generation knew how to do
Yeah.
that because it's
No.
funny that you should say that. It's funny that you should say that because I I remember this as if it was yesterday. From what I recall, had my first
Yeah,
hug from my mum when I was, I don't know, I remember being in Jamaica. I think I was coming back or going back to England, flying back to England at the airport,
yeah.
and I got a hug. And I'm like,
Yes,
oh,
that
I was
feeling.
like,
Yes.
wow. Do you know what
Oh
I mean?
dear.
So I don't think
Yes.
that generation, our parents' generation, knew how to do things like that because
No, no.
I now know that I always give my own children hugs and kisses and tell them that I
Yes,
love
me
them and
too.
things like that, and
Yeah,
I think it's
yeah.
important. But I didn't think
Hmm.
badly of my mum because she didn't give me a hug, maybe because she didn't
Yeah,
know how to give
yeah.
hugs.
True,
Maybe she didn't get
true.
hugs from her parents, so it wasn't
Yeah,
something that she learned to forward
yeah.
that information on, you know. So
True.
um, just like May is with us. Thank you, May. Thanks for joining us. And Sarah, thank you very much for joining us as well. She's watching. So yeah,
Okay.
it's a weird one because I know that a lot of people kept saying to me, "Oh, look, they're your sisters. You know, you need to. You know, your parents wouldn't like because my parents are no longer with me.
Yeah.
So you know,
Same
you
with
wouldn't.
me.
Yeah, you know, your parents are no longer with us. So you know, your sisters, you need to talk to each other." And I'm like, do you know the background? Do you know what's
Yeah.
happened? You know,
Yes.
because they're saying these things without having any knowledge. There's no context to why this has happened.
Hmm.
You know, and don't get me wrong, I wanted to talk to my sisters. You know, I wanted to be part of what they were doing or saying or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
but it's almost as if I had that door slammed in my face. Um, you know, so it's very difficult when people say just go ahead and talk to them, but if they don't want to talk to you, there's not much that you can do.
No, there's nothing that you can do.
Yeah, I think for me, I don't have that middle child syndrome. I don't even know what that is, that middle child syndrome
Yeah.
thing that they keep talking about, but I know
Hmm.
that if there's nothing concrete that I can say, well, you did this or you said that, then I haven't done anything wrong. And I think because of my successes, that's where the jealousy and the envy came into it. Um,
Hmm.
so hence that's why I ended up writing because I was so angry, you know, I had to write things down, and that's why I ended up writing
Yeah.
that chapter in that book. But it's weird when someone says, well, maybe your siblings are jealous of you, and you're thinking,
That most
why?
probably is it. Yeah.
Yeah, why would they be jealous of me? You know, but for you, it's a different, your dynamics is different. Yours is the fact
Yeah.
that um, you were the younger sibling and there was
Yeah.
this huge age gap,
Yes. Yes.
you know, and as you said, you didn't know where to fit in that gap,
No.
you
No, I
know.
didn't know.
So when you were younger or growing up, did you all live in the same house with or
No,
had
they
your own
lived.
home?
They had their families, so they lived with their families. But what I will say, what really did hurt me was when my mother took sick and was in hospital before she passed away, and it was like nobody was really there for her except for me. And at that time, I was 6 months pregnant, and I had to stop off work for a few months to help, nurse her while she was there. And then she came to the realization that I really was the one who was always there and not them, because they hardly came to the hospital or anything. And it was just me there every day.
That is,
Yeah.
I mean, that's quite interesting that you say that, and the fact that on her sick bed she
Yeah.
actually probably realized the penny had dropped that she had favored the other one, the elder, well, the other two
Yeah.
really, and that she had ignored you, well, not ignored, but you were part of her
Yeah.
love, I suppose,
Yeah.
and the fact that you were the one who looked after her, and it's sort of
Yeah.
turn up to the books, really, isn't it?
Yeah,
So,
it was. It was. And that was when I got my hug. Was when she was on her deathbed. Is when I got my
um,
hug, and it was like, wow. I started to cry because that was the first time she's ever done that for me, and
Wow.
knowing that I went through all of that when it was doctor's appointments and we had to find out what's going on with her, nobody turned up. My siblings just didn't turn up. And then when she passed away, that was when I really saw I would say how they felt about me. They didn't want to help me with the funeral arrangements. I had to do all of that myself.
Was that because you were there for her on her deathbed? Was that because they felt guilty that they weren't there at that time, do you think?
I really don't know because nothing was said. I don't know why that happened. But yeah, they didn't want to help me or do anything when I asked for help.
Mm,
They weren't there, so I had to do whatever I had to do for her,
of
to
course.
sort all of that out. And then obviously the house that I was living in was owned by my mother, so then it was
Mm.
like they wanted to sell the property.
Oh,
So the
wow.
property got sold, and then it was like while I was rushing around trying to get this property sold to please them, then it was like, oh my God, but where will me and my children live? We've got absolutely nowhere to go. We
Wow.
will be homeless. So I
Wow.
had to
And
ask
they,
the
they
new
had that,
owner of the house.
so they didn't have any concerns with that. As far as they were concerned, it was their mother's house. They wanted to sell it, and it's up to you,
Yeah,
whatever it is that you
yeah.
want to do.
But
Really?
the worst thing is that it was mine and my mother's name on the deeds. But obviously she had a more bigger share than myself. But
Mm,
however things turned out, it didn't turn out the way how it should have. But
mm,
yeah, they were just concerned in getting it sold, and it was like, well, where would we live? I asked one of them because he had a 3-bedroom house and just using one room. And I said, is it all right if me and my children come and stay with you until we find somewhere? And he just said, I don't have any space for you, so sorry, you won't be able to come and stay with me.
oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
I was like, what?
Oh my
You have a
goodness.
3-bedroom house and you're trying to tell me that you have no space, even if it was for 2 nights, no space to put me and my children. And then I
Wow.
could really say, well, you really don't care because no one was
Mm,
concerned, like, where will you live?
mm. So it
Because
almost
I think,
it almost
mhm,
sounds as if they never really at any time at all accepted
yeah,
you.
no,
As
that is what I've come to learn. That's what I've come to see, that I've never really been accepted as part of the family. Yeah,
mm, mm. So how do
yeah,
you move on from something like that? How do you move on from, that acknowledgement that it's never going to be,
yeah,
lovey-dovey with your siblings? How
yeah.
do you move on from that?
Well, I suppose, I mean, it took me quite a while because it's been like 6 years now.
Mm,
And, it was very hurtful and emotional at the
mm,
time.
mm,
But I suppose you just learn to deal with it.
mm.
I
Yeah.
mean, a few weeks ago, I went to my middle brother's house and I know he was in and he didn't open the door. I know he was there because his car was there and they didn't open up the door,
Oh my
you know.
goodness.
I was like, okay, then because I'm trying to see, if there's anything that I can do to break down bridges, and just say, come on, we're siblings. We shouldn't be living like this, but he didn't
Mm,
open the door. So what can
mm.
I do if
Yeah,
they
yeah. You were
don't want to
saying
know?
that
There's nothing I can do.
it took 6 years for you to get to a point where you're okay with, well, not okay, but
Yeah,
it took what, so during that period, because I'm interested in the turmoil, the emotional turmoil, because
yeah,
for me, I felt grief.
yeah,
For want of a better word, I felt grief. I
hmm,
felt because I, for me, I confronted them when my mother had passed
yeah.
because I don't think my parents knew what was going on because they had already immigrated to the West Indies. So,
Okay,
and I just remember her saying, look, there's only three of you here. Make sure you look after each other. I remember her
yeah,
saying that. And I remember going to my younger sister's house because we had some documents to sign, my mum's papers and stuff like that. And
hmm,
I thought, this is the prime opportunity to ask them, why have you ostracized me? Do you know what
yeah,
I mean? I had to ask
yeah,
that question, and the response that I got back was, it was ridiculous, really. Because when I was going home, I'm driving on the way back home, and I'm thinking, and I'm laughing to myself, and I'm thinking,
Yeah.
that just doesn't make any sense. It's so
No.
superficial. Why would you not talk to me, treat me the way that you've treated me for over 20 years over that?
Hmm.
It just didn't
Hmm.
make any sense. But because when my parents or my mum had just passed away and we came back, and thinking that maybe we may be able to get back closer together, or whatever,
Yeah.
it didn't happen. And I felt as if I was grieving all over again, because I was grieving for my mum who had just passed. And here I was grieving the death of the relationship of my
Yeah.
siblings,
Hmm.
but they were still alive.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then there were times when, I couldn't sort of, I wanted my siblings. I love my siblings, my sisters, but I couldn't.
Hmm.
It was the rejection part. It was the fact that they had ostracized me. It was the fact that they just didn't want me in their lives. But because they never
Yeah.
really came out and said it, if we were in a family gathering or something like that, it would be like, you're just about get hello. We were strangers.
Yeah. Yeah.
We were
Yeah. Yeah.
strangers.
I know that feeling.
Yeah, we've become
Yeah.
estranged.
Yeah.
And even up until the other day, we went to my younger sister actually sent me a message to invite me to her son's 18th. So I said, well, I'm gonna go regardless because it's my nephew, you know. Um, and then when my older sister came along, just she doesn't have to say anything, but the way that it was her body language, the way she positioned herself in the
Mhm.
chair, her back was facing me. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
We went out in the garden, there was a space on the table next to me to put her plate of food, but she chose to sit on the wall. Do you know what I mean?
Wow.
It's just things like that, and she's never ever said anything, but it's my younger sister that's been the vocal person,
Yeah.
So I was kind of wondering whether my younger sister has been manipulated by my older sister.
Maybe you never know. You never know.
Exactly. Because
Yeah.
how can both of them together decide not to talk to me? you
Yeah.
know,
It's just so sad. It's not nice. And they don't really realize the effect that it does actually have on you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because when I was writing my chapter, I that's the question that I asked, do you know the effect that you have had on me? Do you
Yeah.
know how emotionally shackled I
Yeah.
was, trying to
Yeah.
understand, well, is it my fault? Was it my fault?
Yeah.
Could I have done this better? Should I have said this? Should I have said that?
Yeah.
But what I realized is it wouldn't have mattered what I said or did.
No.
Um, you know, they they had already made up their mind. They had already made that decision. So for me, emotionally, it was very hard. I cried a lot, but I didn't show that I was upset so that my children can see.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
um, you know, I didn't shift the curtains, so to speak. Do you know what I mean? When I got up
Mhm.
in the morning, I was like just trying to understand, because at this point, as you say, it's loneliness here at this point,
Yeah. It is.
because if you don't have many friends, or okay, you have friends, you have acquaintances, um, I don't even recall going for coffee or going for a drink or going out with my siblings when we were growing up. So did it stem back from then? I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, I would understand because you said there's a big, huge age gap with your siblings.
Yeah.
Mine
Yeah.
is my younger one is 4 years younger than me, and my eldest one is 18 months. Do you know what I
Okay.
mean? So that
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
it's not a gap at all, a
Yeah.
huge gap at all. But I must admit that it did hurt emotionally. So
Yeah,
for
it's
you,
hurtful. It's
yeah,
very
yeah,
hurtful. Yeah.
yeah, you can understand if it were friends, okay, friends come and go, but when it's your sisters and you know that they live, just sort of like
Mm.
down the road from you or whatever, or
Yep.
going to family events and you see them there and it's just a hi, then you move on. Um,
Yeah.
So how did you deal with it? How did you come out of that after 6 years? How did you come out of
Well,
that?
as you said, it was hurtful. I'm not going to lie. It was very hurtful for me. I did cry a lot over it because I do love them regardless of everything, you
Mm,
know. But I suppose with having my children have kept me busy. And I'm always telling my children, whenever I do depart from this earth plane, ensure that you all love each other equally. There's no difference. I just want all of them to love each other, you know. Even like when the two little ones fight, I'm like, no fighting, please. It's just about love. It's not about fighting, no negativity between you guys. It's just all about love, you know. So that's
Yeah.
what I tried to promote with them. But yeah, I cried a lot. I cried a
Mm,
lot, you know, because
yeah.
it showed me that when we used to have all these little family gatherings, when my sister-in-laws would come and my nieces and nephews would come, then that was all fake, because as soon as my mother died, all of that just stopped. I didn't hear from
Absolutely.
no one. It's been 6 years since I've seen some of my nieces and nephews. I haven't heard
Wow.
from any of them, you know.
Wow.
And you know, you thinking, being a woman and having sister-in-laws that they would phone and say, well, how are you doing, how are the children?
Mm,
Nothing. So it just
yeah.
showed me that nobody really cared in the you know, from
Yeah.
the get-go. So you just accept it and move on, because
Yeah.
why dwell on it? Because you know, you wouldn't get any further. It will just cut you up more than it will hurt them, because they're living their life. So why should I sit down there and cry over it? I just have to get on and do me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So for those who will catch us on the replay, my name is Jacqueline Francis, and I have my guest today called Nabilah. How do you pronounce it? Am I pronouncing it correctly?
Yeah, Nabilah. Yeah,
Yeah,
Nabilah.
Nabilah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and this is my show called Stop Sweeping It Under the Carpet, because so many of us are going through some issues or are carrying issues from the past,
mhm,
and not dealing with those issues. And by not
yeah,
dealing with those issues or speaking out about them makes us ill physically,
yes,
mentally. So it's time for us to just stop sweeping things under the carpet. So today, the subject of the show is sibling rivalry, whether it's sibling rivalry, jealousy, or competition, or envy. I have been ostracized. I'm now estranged from my siblings, and the same as well with my guest. So if anyone out there can relate to the topic of of the conversation, then please do get in contact with me. I'm just interested. I'm quite intrigued as to how you know how people deal with issues with regards to their siblings, because you're tied together by blood. Do you know what I mean?
yes.
So you don't really think about falling out with them, but
No,
of course
not
things
at all.
happen. Exactly,
Yeah,
and it's not always as some, because I try to find out a bit about it. Do you know what I mean? But the information that I've read from psychologists or from books or anything like that, they always seem to talk about um, competition and rivalry from a child, from childhood, growing up. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah,
how maybe one parent may have favored the other child. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
So hence there's competition. But for
yes,
me, that wasn't the case for me. Mine happened, as far as I know, as an adult.
mhm,
So I'd be interested to know, from that perspective as well, because that's the area that I can identify with. So in
yeah,
closing, what advice, if there was someone out there who has issues with their siblings, um,
mhm,
for me, when I wrote my chapter in the book,
yeah.
I wrote a letter to them. Actually, I
Oh
wrote a
wow, that
letter.
sounds nice.
Yeah, I wrote a letter to them,
Yeah,
and and I also forgave them. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? I had to
yeah.
forgive them, because if
You
you
have
keep
to,
up,
because that's the only way how you'll move on, is through
exactly, exactly.
forgiveness.
You can't keep asking why, because you're not going to get those answers. You got to
No, you
stop
won't.
asking why. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? And
so true.
start, exactly, and start asking, well, what can I do to change the way that things are? And
Yeah,
whatever those answers are, just go ahead and do it. And I know it's not simple. I know that some people won't have anyone to talk to. Um, and if you don't have anyone to talk to, because I've been through it, email me. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
I will, hold your hand through the process, because it doesn't happen overnight. For some, it'll take longer than others. For you, it took 6 years.
yeah.
Maybe if you had spoken to someone earlier on, you could have saved yourself those 6 years.
Yes, exactly. I could have. Who knows? Who knows? But yeah, yeah, you know, it's good to ask for help, and that's one thing I know. I can speak for myself as being a melanated woman. We do find it hard to ask for help. We
Yeah,
find it very hard. That pride, you know, but as you said, it's time to stop sweeping it under the carpet and get out there and tell your story, ask for help, you know,
Yeah.
don't just sit there in silence.
Yeah, because even with you coming on here and saying and sharing your story, there's someone out there that's saying, "Oh my God, I'm going through the same thing with my
Yeah,
sibling." But
yeah,
because they are afraid of what the family members will say, or you bring
yes,
shame on them, or embarrassment,
yes,
you're not going to say anything, and you're not living
no,
your best life.
yeah, so true.
It's not serving you. How, tell me how, I want to know if anyone's going through that, tell me how is it serving you? Tell me how carrying that load is serving you. What are you getting
True.
from it? Are you living your best life? Are you happy? Are you joyful? Are you thinking about what other people are thinking of you? It's a toss.
No, exactly. It's so
You know,
true.
so
Because
what
I
would
could
you,
honestly say, even my son asked me today, why are you going to be talking about your family for? And I said, well, you know, I have to get it out there.
yeah.
Why always keep it hidden?
Yeah, because someone said that to me, and I'm like, well, it's none of your business.
Yeah.
Who was it that said, other people's opinion of me is none of my business? Do you know what I
No,
mean?
not at all.
I needed to, in order for me to move forward in my life, I had to get it off my chest. Once I
Yes.
got it off my chest, I mean, it didn't happen overnight. It was a process. For me, it was a process.
Yeah.
But I felt much lighter. I felt much
Hmm.
freer. I
Of
felt
course.
empowered.
Yeah.
And when I got it off my chest, and actually when I wrote the chapter in the book, a couple of days after the book launch, and I was telling my story, people were contacting me and sharing their story. Do you know what I mean? It's
Okay.
almost as
Yeah.
if I was giving them permission to tell their story. So if
Yeah.
anyone out there who may be going through the same things with, like myself and Nabilah, with siblings issues, um, tell your story. If you can't tell a
Yes,
friend or family
definitely.
member, come and email me, tell me. I will sit down with you and listen to what it is that you have to say and get you to a point where you wondered why you were carrying this load in the first place for so long.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, yeah. Oh, we've just got a comment here from Andrea. Since my mother died last year, my sisters and I are estranged from my brothers. For me, one older, two younger. My elder sister and I went to Jamaica last year for 3 months nursing our mother,
Mm.
um, nursing our mother, but she only wanted to see the boys. They never came. Oh my goodness. She died
Oh no,
in
that's bad.
October. Yeah, she died in October, and my sister and I went back to sort out her funeral. The boys came days before we buried her. I personally got cursed like a dog because I didn't put one brother's wife on my mother's program. I do not
Oh my
talk to
God.
them. Yeah, I do not talk to them anymore. I don't see them. If I do, it will be hello, how are you? But I figure I'm not ready to forgive, not for a good time yet. I don't feel no way. Okay. I mean, thank you, Andrea.
Yeah,
Andrea.
thanks, Andrea.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Andrea, for that comment. And as you say, it's hard, and the sheer fact that on she went to bury her mother, and
Yeah.
she had issues, just like yourself,
Yeah.
with her siblings.
Yeah.
Her mother died in October. Um, I'm not sure whether that was October last year. Maybe that
Last,
was
it was
October
last year
last
her
year.
mother passed.
Yeah. And she got cursed, she was saying.
Yeah.
But she's not ready to forgive as yet, which is fine,
Mm.
because you've got to be in that place to forgive. But all I
Of
can
course.
say,
Yeah.
Andrea, what I can say, and I'm sure you can concur, is don't leave it too long.
No.
The sooner you forgive, oh my gosh, I'm telling you,
Mm.
the sooner you forgive, the happier you will be.
So
I'm
true.
telling you, you will feel so empowered.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You will feel, I mean, I'm speaking for myself here, I'm sure you agree, you'll feel
Yes.
so
Yeah.
empowered, and you'll get to a point where you don't give a toss about what your
No.
family, your siblings are saying, because this is your life. So
Yeah.
who are they to dictate to you how it should be
Mm.
lived? You know,
Yeah.
we're all here to live a joyous and the best life that we can.
Of course
And
we
I
are.
know
Yeah.
exactly, you know, and I know that's what I'm doing. I remember you said earlier on that you haven't seen your nieces and nephews. Is that what you said? You don't.
Yeah. Some of them I haven't seen from since my mother died. I haven't seen them in all this time, you know? So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm grateful that my nieces and nephew will still come to my house. They will still talk to me.
Oh, that's
Um,
nice.
my children still have a relationship with their cousins, and that's
Yeah.
what I was afraid of because you don't want it to continue generation after generation.
No. Well, that's what I'm very hurt about is that the relationship that my children had with their cousins, they don't have that anymore.
Oh my
So for me,
goodness.
that is heartbreaking, you know.
Yeah.
But what can I do? It's just a part of life. I just have to get on with it. I mean, I've forgiven my brothers, I've forgiven my sister-in-laws, everything, you know, because every one of us have to live our life. So I can't be grudgeful towards them because I
Mm.
have to move on because, as I said, they're living their life happy. And by me holding on to it, I wouldn't be living. I'll just be stuck. And I don't want
Yeah.
to be stuck. So I've had
Yeah.
to forgive them in order for me to move on.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So Andrea, in time, you will learn. You need to learn.
Mm.
I mean, I don't want to tell you what to do or anything like that, but once you get to that place where you're ready to forgive, just don't leave it too long. It's not worth
Yeah.
the anger because while you're being angry, they're busy enjoying themselves. They're getting on with life.
Yes, exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And here you are, you know, cursing and you know, being upset or depressed or hurt, you know, but they're busy laughing and joking and getting on with their life. So if I
Yeah.
were to give you any advice, you know, and I'm sure you agree that, you know, don't leave it too long. I know you got to
No.
do it in your own time when you're ready, but please don't leave it too long.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so yeah, I'm going to wrap it up now. So thank you so
Okay.
much.
And
Thank
thank
you.
you for having me.
You're
I'm
welcome.
most
You're welcome.
grateful.
Until next time. Oh, and congratulations on winning your award.
Woo, 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 woo. Thank you. Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. Until
Thank
next
you.
time. Take care.
Okay. All right. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for tuning
Bye.
in. Bye.
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 Okay, that was Nabilah Whitty. Thank you so much for joining me. We're talking about issues with regards to our siblings and sibling rivalry, jealousy, or competition. It's not, you know, uncommon. You know, it's something that happens all the time. But you know, we keep it within ourselves, and it's not serving us at all. So, if any of you are going through any of those issues with regards to your siblings, sibling competition, sibling rivalry, or jealousy, um, you know, don't keep it to yourself. Talk about it because you don't know who else might be going through the same thing. Um, and if you don't have a friend or family that you can talk to, and I know a lot of people go counselling, go to a counsellor. Hi, Elizabeth, I'm just wrapping up now. So if you don't have any friends or family that you can go to and you don't want to go to a counsellor or anything like that, I've been through it. I've had issues with my siblings. Um, I've had a couple of guests on, if you look on my timeline, that have had issues with their siblings. And, you know, don't, you know, please do reach out, do contact me. I've, you know, developed a process that I used. Um, and since I've used that process, you know, I've gone on to be an award-winning speaker. I've gone on to be a co-author in a book, which was um, endorsed by Lisa Nichols. I've gone on in my own book. I've attended speaking events. So, you know, and other things behind the scene as well. And that was just because I decided that I didn't want to take on any more issues with my siblings. That was because I decided to just let it go and stop asking that question, why? So, okay, before I start rambling on, I'm going to end it there. Thank you so much for those of you who have joined me. Thank you so much for the comments. Thank you, Andrea and Nabilah for and all the others who's joined me. So take care until next time. Bye bye. Have a great day. Bye.